Okay, hello guys. So today I'm going to be doing another Q&A. So the first question is, I don't want to bring more children to the earth knowing what I know now about this place. I wonder if there would be karma attached or not. I did hear a rumor about a lot of starseeds not wanting or having children for whatever reason. I'm really not sure how true that is because I have two, but I have also seen many who have none. Thanks again for the video. So when it comes to these very high level advanced souls, it's almost like they have chosen to descend and kind of spread their wisdom to this world. So when I'm talking about those very old souls, I do find that a good portion of them won't want kids, but then there are some that do. So I'm going to say it really depends on the situation, as always. So it could be part of their mission to descend here and help their soul family. So you don't have to have a child in order to help your soul child. Your soul child might already be incarnated here. You know what I'm saying? They might even be older than you. So let's say you're a very old soul and you have descended down here and you don't feel like you want children. It could be because your soul family, the people who you intended to help, they're already here. And this is not written anywhere. This is just me gathering kind of insight over my experiences and just everything I've researched. Yeah. But maybe it's part of their mission to bring other soul family members down and to create a good environment for them to be born. So if that's true, then they would have this desire to have children. The one thing about having children down here in this realm that's very, very dense, there are risks associated with it. So I talked about this in this video. The best possible scenario from my perspective to have a child in this world as it is now is to do it with a very, very high soulmate counterpart and to do it totally naturally. So not using any sort of stuff like this and this, a total natural birth. From what I've seen, that brings down another very highly powered advanced soul, which is probably part of your mission anyway. So yeah. However, when you do give birth to one of these very highly powerful souls, they may get targeted. So any targeting that was put towards you will now be put towards the child. And I wish this wasn't the case, but I just like to say things as it is. It's nice to think that everything's going to be fine. Don't worry, don't worry. The reality is, though, from my perspective, is that when you have two very powerful souls that come together and create another powerful soul, they may get attacks. So especially the health of the child, different things can happen. And this is just the reality of this spiritual war that's happening. So the light versus dark. As for, is there karma attached? So a lot of people think, oh, if you have a kid, then you're going to have to stay behind and help them pay off their karma. I don't think that's true if you are a karma-free agent in this world. So if you are outside of this system and you're not able to rack up karma, nothing can give you karma in this world. So you can really just see your kids as their own individual people with their own missions and with their own karma, that they can take care of on their own. And I will just add that if you have two very powerful beings coming together and they want to have a child, if they use this or some kind of artificial means of doing it, I actually don't see the highly powerful soul coming through. Usually it's a robot being or something like that. So basically just never do that. Just never do that. Don't think that just because you're spiritually powerful and nothing can touch you, that using these methods is a good idea, because basically you're just going to create an opportunity for a robot to come through. So these are AI spirits, I guess you could say. And I see them being connected to this, which is a robotic kind of AI substance. And when it comes to starseeds, so in my perspective, everyone is a starseed because everyone is coming through a certain stargate. I mean, the actual souls are coming through a stargate. So the question would be, which type of starseed there's different levels of starseeds, in my opinion. Okay, so the next question is, did you channel information about indigo, crystal, and rainbow children? Is that new age or is there some truth? So I do think there is some truth in that because I know I say this all the time, but I believe that our universe is kind of controlled by these color rays, like I've said. And I do think that there are different levels of souls in our universe, kind of like a video game, and it has to do with the color rays. So in our linear time down here, we think that the next generation is an improvement on the last, but we only think that because we're in this linear time. It really is like a cycle. So think about how an astrology wheel it has, you know, all these different signs, and as you go through the year, you go through all the signs and then it restarts. That's kind of what I see as being kind of the top of this universe. So think about also the seasons. So you have fall, winter, things get really dark. Then you have spring, and then summer is like this golden age and everyone is full of energy. So that's kind of how I see these, the incarnations of all these different groups of souls. So yeah, there would be indigo children, rainbow children, crystal children. It's all kind of part of that higher astrology that's just going through the cycles. And I don't know if you have heard of the video Harvest Moon, but that could also be comparable. So it's a preset, pre-made video game that has seasons set into it, and you play the game and then the seasons just run. And yeah, you have some free will on what you do, but the next season is going to come eventually, and then it's going to restart. And I have referenced this chart a couple times, but I'll just show it here again. So this is based on Ashiana Dean's work, where she kind of maps out the astrologies, like the higher astrologies of our universe. And to me, it is quite accurate because I notice that the people who want to exit this game, they're often pretty much, I'll just say, pretty much always connected to the blue cosmic Lyrans. So these blue cosmic Lyran avatars, and you can see on the chart that that's the very top, the very outer circle. So it's almost like you reach a certain level in the game where the game is done for you and then you exit it. And we are kind of living in this blue ray age, this age of Archangel Michael, where all this truth is being revealed. This is also part of this higher astrology. So really think about this universe as all of these layered rotating clocks. But I will say that it's not like we're forever stuck in these clocks, you know what I'm saying? I do think that beings from the outside can come in to stop the clocks or, you know, take the power away from the clock. Yeah. So I do think there can be interference in that way. You can think about how you have a video game, but someone can still override the code. So who are those people? Where are they from? I don't know. What does it mean when an NPC is connected to a star race? Does that just mean they are not connected to source, but still have the influence of that race? So first of all, whenever I say NPC, I mean a soul who is not a creator within themselves. So they are basically created by a creator, similar to how you have, I'll just use the video game analogy. You have a video game that was technically created by a real person, and that real person put their choices into a computer generated character. So you have those computer characters, right? So those characters basically were made by a creator, but they are fulfilling those choices. So first I'll say that pretty much everyone is connected to a lower star race. So this is the galactic realm. You have Lyrans, you have snake people, dragon people, bird people, all different types. In this blog post, I talked more in depth about all the different types. I find with NPCs, they will often just be a lower star race and maybe an elemental as well, and then that's it. So they won't have a lot of higher forms going on. I don't know why. Maybe because they were created by a creator, you know what I'm saying? And NPCs can pretty much be any star race. They can be avian, they can also be Lyran, they can be frog. Any star race goes with NPC. And I find whether you are an NPC or whether you're a real soul that has their own choices and their own agency, everyone expresses their lower star race in different ways. So I'll just give an example with myself. My lower star race is avian, and I very much have lived an avian life. Like my career has reflected what avians do, which is media and communication. So it's the same way how you run on your astrology. So I'm a Taurus sun. I have that influence in my life. Someone else might be Sagittarius and they have that influence in their day to day, you know? So the lower star race is similar. And the same goes for elemental type. So the elemental type also affects your choices and just influences your day to day life. And I've done posts showing how your elemental energy can affect what clothes you like to wear. So yeah, check that out if you're interested. That's just one example of how these higher astrologies can affect your day-to-day life here. Is Alice in Borderland linked to the archetypal realm? So I've never seen Alice in Borderland, but I looked up a synopsis. So it is about people who compete in these games in a parallel reality of Tokyo. So that actually sounds very interesting. It reminds me of Squid Games, actually. And I have seen this kind of stuff happening in the future. So once people realize that the world is ending and there's all this crazy weather, there will be these apocalypse, or I think I just see in my visions, there will be apocalyptic type games where you can basically win a pass to a bunker. And when I look at the director, for example, of Alice in Borderland, he is a king in the archetypal realm and is specifically a king in the candy kingdom of the archetypal realm. So it makes sense that he would be interested in Alice in Wonderland and would want to kind of emulate it in a different way. People who are connected to the archetypal realm will tend to be interested in animation, fairy tales, very much into art and aesthetics. Tim Burton is an example. So he has a high rank in the archetypal realm. And he's just such a good example because he likes to create these very fantasy-like worlds. Yeah. Can you read J.K. Rowling's higher forms? Okay, so you're probably expecting me to see all this evil stuff, but I actually don't at all. So I see J.K. Rowling as being strongly connected to the archetypal realm. She is connected to the stuffed animals and teddy bears there because there's like a toy land in the archetypal realm. She is also connected to the gold ray, and the gold ray is all about returning to childhood and empowering children. And I also see her being connected to leprechauns. So leprechauns are little elf-like elementals born from leaves, twigs, and gold dust. So yeah, that's, I guess, the gold ray connection there. And she does strike me as a younger soul, almost like she's just here to create and explore kind of thing. And I do see that she's been cloned. So there has been a bio robot made of her that is used on red carpets. So you can't really trust what she says in the public sphere because it could be from this clone. But yeah, I see her as being pretty normal, actually, believe it or not. Maybe she's part of the royal family, like some people say that she is, and is kind of like I'm sure she's part of those societies, those secret societies, but when I look at her origins, she just seems like a regular person who's just creative and just wanted to create something. Do soulmates and twin flames belong to the same star race? Love questions about soulmates. So when it comes to lower star race, so that's the races in the galactic realm that are pretty dense. They're kind of like us. So when it comes to star race, Sometimes really high level soulmates will have the same, sometimes not. I literally find it's like 50-50. I do find, though, if we're talking about the very high divine counterparts that are united in like the highest level, I find that they will often be the same avatar race, okay? And this is different from the lower star race. These avatar races, they're way more symbolic. So you can be a Lyran avatar, a bird avatar, frog avatar, bear avatar. There are these really simple animals. You can kind of compare them to Care Bears, actually. How Care Bears, actually, some of the Care Bears are other animals, right? They have a lion. That's a Care Bear. I just realized that. So it's that kind of thing. So those animal avatars, they're more connected to those higher astrologies, you know? They're more symbolic. And I find the divine counterparts, I don't really believe in this twin flame stuff because I think there's many different types of twin flames, many different levels of twin flame. But I'll say the highest divine counterparts, they will usually be the same avatar animal race. And I kind of talked about these more symbolic avatar animals in this post, but I haven't talked about them very much. When it comes to the lower star races, so the star races from the galactic realm, I find that it's literally 50-50. So sometimes you'll have these very high divine pairs who will be the same star race. So they'll both be avians or whatever. And then sometimes they just won't. They'll totally be two different star races. I don't know yet why that is. In addition to having the same animal avatar race as your divine counterpart or your high soulmate, you can also be golden angel pairs. So that to me is another very high connection that divine counterparts have. So this kind of relates to what I've talked about with the rose priests and priestesses, where they hang out in a golden castle. That is what I mean by golden angel pairs or golden angel counterparts. So yeah, you can see that there are, to me, it's like there's so many different kinds of twin flames. You can also have the twin flame catalyst. So all that yoga stuff is just like energy harvesting. What do you think? So I've seen this quite a lot where people will say that yoga is demonic and all of that. And to that, I say yes and no. It's almost like every question, the answer is it depends. So is it bad to stretch your neck if you feel tightness in it? I don't think so. I don't think that that's bad. If you feel tightness like in your body somewhere, you should be allowed to kind of remedy that. And sometimes doing stretches is what you need to do. I think when it comes to yoga, it all depends on what the environment is that you're doing the yoga in and who's facilitating it. Also, how many people are present, who's around you, and what is the intention of the person running it, you know, or teaching the yoga. Because if you have someone who is like possessed by a dark entity, whatever, running the yoga, and maybe they have this subconscious intention of harvesting the energy of the people in the class, then I would say that that's not a good situation to be in, because yoga is all about really opening yourself up energetically. Same with breath work and a lot of those spiritual practices. So if the facilitator is having these thoughts of, even subconsciously, because they're probably not consciously having them, but maybe on a higher level, like in the galactic realm or whatever, your thoughts become physical in your thought field. So their intention does matter, I think. So I will say, I think it's fine to do yoga on your own terms, in your own protected space, or with someone that you trust. Because a lot of these big yoga retreats and a lot of these really popular yoga teachers, like the most popular ones, they're doing these like energy harvesting things with it. So they're basically taking all the energy from the class. Like, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but this is why it depends on the intention of the facilitator. Like, really. And you have to kind of understand that these NPC souls or the fallen angel type souls, they need energy. They need energy from real souls. They don't want it from other NPCs because it's not gonna get them anywhere. They want energy from people who are directly connected to God or source. They want those people to be participating in their stuff because that gives them power to ascend. At this point, I don't feel like it gives them that much power. I think they just kind of get high off of it and aren't really going anywhere. But I think their intention is to use the energy of a certain type of soul that is very advanced or is kind of rooted on the outside of this universe so they can use it to ascend higher, like to ascend to heaven or just a higher realm. And this is why I don't tend to do like group healing sessions. I've done them in the past and I would always feel really weird after. Yeah, I just don't do them. I do most of my energy healing totally by myself. Okay, so that's it for this Q&A. Thank you so much for submitting questions and for listening. If you want to submit another question for the next Q&A that I do, I'll just put the link to the Q&A form below. And yeah, definitely check out my blog for more on these types of musings. I also just started a group chat for paid subscribers of my blog. So it's just a free space for people to ask questions to each other and just talk freely. So if that's something that you are interested in, I will also put the link to that below. And yeah, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you soon.